Everybody. I am so grateful to be here. My name is Kecia Jones, and I am the Development Officer in charge of church relations at Free Wheelchair Mission. And I brought one of our wheelchairs here to show you. And at the end, I'll take it down so that I can show you some of the unique features about our wheelchair. But you possibly have never heard of us before, which is why I'm glad to be here. We are located in Irvine, and we're a faith-based nonprofit, and what we do is we give these wheelchairs to people in developing countries. And we, like Dara said, we've given out more than 1.4 million in 95 different countries all over the world, which is amazing, especially because our wheelchairs are only $96 each. But unfortunately, 80 million people around the world need a wheelchair and can't afford it, which is just tragic, because when you don't have mobility, your life shuts down. And if you can't sustain your family financially, it affects your whole family. And not having mobility limits your education, it limits your access to things, and it's just not the way we were designed to live. So we, like Dara said, she did her homework. She did a great job of representing who we are for you guys. We manufacture, ship, and distribute these wheelchairs all over the world through a system of like-minded partners. Some of our partners are churches, some are nonprofits, some are hospitals. And this wheelchair is really unique. It's durable, and it's designed to be used in some areas that, like, we don't have nice sidewalks in those countries that we're talking about. So it has bike tires on purpose so that you can buy those anywhere in the world. It closes, it folds to go on public transportation. It has a tool in the foot plate for when the nuts and bolts become loose. And it even has a bike pump underneath on the part of the wheelchair nearest to the wheel for when the tires become loose. So if you hear that number again, though, 80 million people who need mobility and can't afford it, that's kind of a shocking number. That number really surprised me when I joined this organization. And as you can see, though, with 80 million who need mobility, who need a wheelchair and can't afford it, that's 80 million different times that we can show God's love to people by giving them the gift of mobility. And these wheelchairs are given, they're free to the recipient because they're paid by people here in the US, whether it's churches, organizations, individuals, foundations, but that's 80 million chances to show people that God loves them. So churches are a big part of our story. Our first wheelchair was actually given out on a church mission trip. And we were started by an MIT biomed engineer who was in Morocco with his wife on vacation. And they saw a woman crawling across a dirt road, and it was a busy road, and people were just stepping all around her and over her. And Don's heart was moved, and when he came home from that trip, God just whispered to him that he had given him talents that would be able to bless people and change people's lives. And so Don started thinking of, how can I do this? How can I fashion something that would answer the problem for that woman? So he came home and he got one of those old white chairs that everybody used to have in their backyard, the lawn chair, and he got some tires, put it on the sides, and it was crude, but it was something. It was better than nothing. And now we have up to Gen 3. We give away Gen 2 and Gen 3. We don't give those away anymore, but that was how we started. And we were started in 2001. And since then, like Dara said, we've given out more than 1.4 million wheelchairs because of the generosity of people like you. So a wheelchair doesn't change just the life of the person who's placed into it. It changes the lives of their caregivers, their families. There might be a mom who had to lock her child up and go to work and lock her kid within their home because their child maybe was too big to carry to school, so their child had to stop going to school. And obviously that gives you a much darker future. Once you receive mobility, your future is brighter and your dignity is restored. And you have access now to church, to a job, to school. So our wheelchairs don't just change the life of the recipient, but the people around them. And we're going to watch a really short video right now that gives you a great overview of who we are and what we do, and it's narrated by our founder and president, Don Schoendorfer.
There's a very unique movement in the work that we do here at Free Wheelchair Mission. There's this movement of transformation when we give somebody a wheelchair. It's sudden, but a world of opportunity opens for them. And they start to think about, well, maybe now I can get to school. I can earn a living. I can go to church. I can watch the sun come up. I can meet with friends because of this wheelchair. So then they go outside for maybe the very first time with this wheelchair, and they smell fresh air, and they see the clouds, they see the blue sky, and they start to see people they haven't seen for maybe years, and they're seeing them eye to eye. They're not looking at their feet. And they think, this is life. This is a gift for me. This is the miracle. And this gift not only transforms the life of the person using the wheelchair, but also the lives of the family members, the caregivers, and the whole community. It's such a powerful thing. And this is what we do every time we give away a wheelchair. And we do this because this is what we've been called to do. When I first learned about the worldwide need for mobility, I felt this nudge from God to do something about it. I knew that God had equipped me with many gifts in education as a biomedical engineer. So I started to build wheelchairs, prototypes in my garage, and God helped me. We like to think holistically about our mission, starting from the engineering of the wheelchair, but we don't stop there. We go all the way to the emotional and spiritual well-being of the recipient. We like to tell them, when you're in this wheelchair, we want you to feel you're in God's hands. What I ask of you is that you would keep us in your prayers, that we can continue to share the love of God around the world by giving the gift of mobility. Our wheelchairs are an expression of God's grace. They cost their recipients absolutely nothing because they are paid for by somebody else. That somebody else is you. You know, for the most part, the people we serve with our wheelchairs, they've given up hope for ever getting a wheelchair. And sometimes they've never even seen one or heard of one. They're kept alive by their loving family, by sometimes neighbors. And then you show up with this wheelchair. And that from that moment on, it's a miracle. To them, it's literally a miracle to receive a gift from you to them and giving them the mobility that they should have had all their lives, and they've lost it. And now they have a chance to just be a human again. It's a miracle. Thank you.
And you can tell by hearing Don's voice, he's a very humble man. He's amazing, and he and his team of engineers have done such an amazing job of providing a wheelchair that is only 38 pounds, but changes somebody's life completely. So it was flashed in the video, but Matthew 25:40 says, "The king will reply, 'Truly I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.'" So a wheelchair is a way to show God's love, but it's also a way to just bring dignity back to somebody's life, or maybe for the first time. So I want to show you a clip in just a moment. It's very short, but it's about what happens when we deliver a wheelchair to somebody through our partnerships. In lots of parts of the world, if you've traveled, you may have experienced this. People who have a disability think that they're not valued and that they're not significant and they don't have hope and they don't have purpose, which limits their opportunities. But when they receive this wheelchair and they receive and hear the truth of who they are and how God loves them, now they can have hope, they can have a brighter future, and they can hear maybe for the first time ever that their Creator created them that way and loves them. And so what you're going to see is actually cell phone video from our CEO when she traveled to Brazil. And you're going to see a girl who is 15, and the moment she's placed into the wheelchair, but the moment she starts hearing about God's love for her, her response is just amazing. You're going to notice that the interpreter who is speaking Portuguese to her, he has to gather himself a few times because he's so moved at her response and just the moment. So it's basically a wheelchair distribution, and it's like you're there. So it's what happens when we take what God has entrusted us with and we point people to the truth of who they are and how they are loved and they have purpose and they're worthy. So I would say in a congregation your size that it would not be a crazy goal to say that you guys could commit to possibly changing the lives of 20 people. And again, you're not changing just that person's life who receives the wheelchair, but the whole family. A dad who can't go to work and can't financially contribute to his family, or a child who has stopped going to school because they've outgrown their parent who can't carry them anymore. So, you know, a parent who can change their family's financial status, you guys know that's everything. That's amazing. And getting an education where, you know, otherwise you weren't able to, that changes your entire future. So my hope is that after you see this video too, that you'll be inspired to join us in our mission, especially because I have tried. I can't think of another thing for less than $100 that I could give someone that would change their life forever. And our wheelchairs are only $96. So we would love to have you join our mission. I'm going to be here after the service if you'd like to talk to me or ask questions, and I'll show you some of those features that I talked about. If you feel moved to give a gift, we would humbly request that, and we would be really grateful for that gift. And if you'd like to give online, just be sure to mention the name of your church, because I would love to reflect back what your impact is. So we're going to watch that short video now, and thank you so much for the invitation to come and share about Free Wheelchair Mission with you.
Tem uma mensagem para você. Está recebendo o presente da mobilidade. Jesus Cristo te ama. Por isso, você está recebendo essa cadeira de rodas. Acreditamos que essa cadeira é um presente de Deus para a sua vida. Ele te criou e te ama como filha, tal como você é. Por acreditarmos em Jesus, fomos chamados para servir. Fomos chamados para servir uns aos outros. Oramos para que você também acredite, sirva e glorifique o nome dele. Que Deus te abençoe.